Today I start reviewing the discography of one of my favorite bands of all time, one of the most creative bands of all time, probably my favorite death metal band of all time, and the innovators of the modern progressive rock / metal scene. There's a bunch of interesting things that led up to the making of this really great debut. That's right, even though a lot of people kind of give this album shit nowadays, I actually happen to find Orchid very, very, very good and very, very consistent. What's interesting is the main man of the band, Mikael Åkerfeldt, actually was not even a founding member at all. The band Opeth was already formed with members and everything, and they were playing and writing stuff, and he just kind of walked into the gig as a bass player or something like that, and I can't remember which member it was. I think he ended up leaving. I think he was a guitarist of this lineup, and he said, "Here, let me go talk to the other guys about having you in." He went in, and then everyone else quit except for him and Mikael, so then they formed the new band. The one guy that got him in eventually left, so Mikael ended up with Opeth being his own band. So then Mikael decided to get a bunch of new members for his band, and he said that when they first played the first show with this new lineup, he said it was the worst performance he would ever see because everyone was so nervous and they played terribly. So there was a bunch of lineup changes, a bunch of shit happened, and Mikael ended up, instead of being the bass player, being the vocalist and guitarist, and once again the leader of the band, lead songwriter and everything. A lineup started to congeal where he got this one guy in the band that played bass, Peter Lindgren. Peter then switched to guitar, the lead guitar along with Mikael, and he ended up being his co-leader of the band, almost like his David Ellefson. They then started to perfect their really dark ambient death metal and progressive metal and melodic compositions in dark areas and pitch blackness to perfect their playing. And this lineup for the first two albums is very, very technical and very, very good at playing what they do. And there's so many interesting types of music floating around. There's a lot of jazz, death metal, melodic folk stuff, especially progressive metal, which links all of their albums together. That's kind of the continuing factor. Even though they just started out most of their discography with death metal, progressive rock is what keeps them going. Anders Norden and John de Farfalla or something like that, along with Peter and Mikael, the lineups for the first two albums, this one and Morning Rise, and they sound so different from most of the other Opeth albums. And it's really interesting to hear these ones, even though a lot of people give them shit because they are so different, and a lot of the songs are just so long and kind of jarring and some interesting stuff going on. I'd say they're maybe some of the most creative works, but I wouldn't say that they're the best works of the band. One last interesting thing to note is one of my other favorite death metal bands is Edge of Sanity, and that band is led by a guy named Dan Swano, and he ended up producing the first bunch of albums from them. He's a great producer and a great musician. He really, really knew what to do with this band's sound because he was kind of doing the same thing with his own project, Edge of Sanity. He was really able to bring out the death metal style of them while they would keep bringing out their prog style, and it really blended it perfectly. The album came out in 1995, and the artwork is really, really bizarre. It's just some flowers, but it's also kind of cool because it's a very simplistic look that kind of has a beautiful but sinister feel to it, which is just how this album is. And I'd say that this album is the cornerstone, and a lot of their albums after would end up pioneering the entire progressive metal, progressive death metal, and just progressive genre in the modern age, because progressive rock kind of died out in the 70s and just keeps evolving into something new. Bands like Gojira and shit like that have all formed under this one flag, and that flag was originally led by Opeth. Now the songs on here are all very, very good. There's a lot of longer songs. There's about 5 of them that are just long compositions that are just the exact style of most Opeth death metal songs, where it's starts out heavy, has a lot of great progressions, and then eventually goes into quieter sections that go into more droning sections. There's just a lot of shit that goes on. There's so much diversity in each song. And all these songs kind of feel like they have the same thing going on, which is kind of a weakness because it kind of feels samey. But it's also very good because it's all consistent. It's all big hunks of really great ideas spread out. However, I do have to say, easily the two best songs in the album are the first two, In the Mist You Was Standing, which is just perfect Opeth shit. All the riffs are fantastic, and I love the really weird bass playing throughout it. And of course, Under the Weeping Moon's really good. I especially love at the end of the chorus where he says, "Under the weeping moon," and they go into the little acoustic bit. Forest of October and the Twilight of My Robe and the Apostle Triumph are all very, very good as well. But my biggest problems are the two really short instrumental songs in the album. Silhouette and Requiem, Silhouette being more the piano piece, Requiem being the guitar and bass piece, are just nothing special at all, to be honest. I'd say if I had to pick one, it'd be Silhouette, because there's some cool piano shit going on at the beginning of it, but then it starts droning on and getting really, really boring. Which is funny because these songs are so short compared to every other song on the album, and these are the boring ones, and it just feels like a sloppy mess. What's interesting is that Requiem is like a minute long, but it's only like half of its own piece. Like the rest of it is actually the intro to the next song, The Apostle Triumph, which was actually an error in recording. So like the band's really pissed off about that because they have half the whole song cut off on the next song, and I hate shit like that. The Apostle Triumph's a pretty good ending to the album, but it's probably my least favorite of all the big epic songs. I think I could maybe attribute that to the fact that the intro sounds off, you know what I mean? It's supposed to still be part of that other song, but there's still some really cool ideas, especially as the song keeps going, it gets a lot better. So that is Orchid, one of my more favorite albums from them, but I just have so many favorites, to be honest. I really love a lot of their albums, but this one's definitely one of the better ones for sure. I'm going to give Orchid an 8.5 out of 10.